So April might not have been the best month for new Nintendo Switch games, but May is coming in hardcore to fix all that. Whether you like first-party games, third-party games, or indie games, I think there is something for everyone on the Nintendo Switch in the month of May. So that means we gotta cover what games you should have on your radar. What's going on, guys? I'm RGT85. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. But without any further ado, let's talk about what games are coming out to the Nintendo Switch in May and what games you need to have on your radar. The first game we're going to talk about is a game called Gun Crazy. Now, Gun Crazy comes out on May 1st, and really when you first look at it, it looks like yet another retro-style 2D side-scrolling gunner, but I sort of see one thing that really draws me to this game. Now, of course, this is a retro-style 2D side-scrolling gunner, so you're blasting through waves of different enemies, through 4 different levels and various bosses. Now, all of the bosses have their own strengths and weaknesses, so you gotta kind of figure out which guns to use on which boss. Really though, what draws me to this game is the graphical style of the game, because I like really big sprites in my retro style games. One thing that I've noticed on the Nintendo Switch is a lot of these 2D side-scrolling games have these little puny sprites, and it's so hard to see everything, and it really sort of takes away from the colors and the animations that you see as well. But Gun Crazy definitely has very, very big sprites. Also, Gun Crazy is only going to be a $4.99 game. Now, obviously, this isn't going to set the world on fire or anything like that, but I think Gun Crazy definitely has some potential. It's already released on Steam, it's gotten pretty good reviews, so I'm kind of looking forward to Gun Crazy. If you're looking for a new retro-style 2D side-scrolling gunner, I think Gun Crazy will scratch your itch when it comes to the Nintendo Switch on May 1st. Now on May 8th is one of the games that I am really looking forward to. This is an indie game that was brought to us during an Indie World presentation, and I have not forgotten about this game, although I feel like some people might have, and that is a game called Super Mash. Now the cool thing about Super Mash is it's sort of a game creation game, but unlike things like Super Mario Maker where it's heavily detailed, Super Mash is actually very easy. You basically just mix 2 different genres into one game. So like a JRPG and an action platformer. And you might be saying to yourself, well, how does that work? That's sort of the fun of figuring things out with Super Mash, because it just creates these games for you, and then you get to check out and play these games. I think the game looks really, really cool, honestly. You can share your creations online with friends to check out their own games and games that you have created as well. There's an overarching story that you also have within the game, but I think the gameplay of this is going to be really unique. Also, there's like a director's mode where you can unlock things to sort of change up how these games sort of transform themselves. So do things like enemy placement and whatnot, which I think is really cool, and even swap out enemies and whatnot. So I think that's going to add a lot of replay value to this game. There's a bunch of new game types that are coming to this game as well via DLC after the initial release, so there'll be different genres that you can check out. But I think the base of this game looks absolutely fantastic. I'm really interested to see how the technology is used to make these games, because it's obviously not going to be like, oh, if you create a JRPG with an action platformer, it's going to be the same every time. The game says that it's going to change things up all the time with these different blending genres, so I'm really looking forward to this game. Super Mash comes out on the Nintendo Switch on May 8th, and I think this is going to be the hidden gem of the month for the Nintendo Switch. Now this next game I have absolutely no interest in. I don't even know why I'm covering this game. I feel like for the 1% of my female audience though, you might be interested in this game, so I'm going to throw you a little olive branch, and that is a game coming out on May 14th called Best Friend Forever. And you know, you hear the title of the game and you're like, okay, this is kind of weird, and then you actually find out what type of game this is, and it really gets even weirder. So it's like a weird dog raising slash dating simulator where you're trying to date people, and you take your dog with you. And I mean I like dogs, you know, I like dogs over cats. I'm actually allergic to cats, so I guess that's kind of cool. You do different quests, you date whoever you want to in the world. There's a sandbox mode to play with your dog if you get a little bit bored with the main game. So obviously I'm not going to be playing this game, and maybe if this video gets like, I don't know, 6,000 likes within the first 48 hours, then maybe I'll review this game, but I don't think you guys are going to get 6,000 likes, which means I won't have to play Best Friend Forever, but maybe you'll want to when it comes out on May 14th. Now, the next game is a game that I am sort of looking forward to checking out. It comes out on May 21st, and that is a game called The Persistence. Now, The Persistence was originally a VR game that released on the PlayStation VR, but now it's being brought over to the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and the Nintendo Switch as a non-VR game. And judging by the look of it, you can tell it is a sci-fi first-person horror game. But I think what's interesting about this is basically you're stuck on a ship that's sort of in the pull of a black hole, and the Persistence is overrun with a crew that's just, you know, obviously trying to kill you and kill everyone on this ship. Now, what's interesting about this game, though, is the fact that it has slight roguelike elements, and I'm kind of over the roguelike genre, especially when it comes to 2D stuff, but I think the roguelike stuff works actually well in here because it actually transforms the layout of the ship, and every time you die, the layout of the ship changes, so items are in different places and enemies are in different places, which I think is really cool. There's different weapons, there's different suits, and there's other upgrades that you get as well trying to survive on this ship. So I have high hopes for this game. I really like first-person sci-fi horror games. I think the Nintendo Switch could always use more of these, so I definitely have my eye on The Persistence. The Persistence comes out, like I said, on May 21st, and it might be a game you want to check out. Next up, on May 27th, we have a free-to-play game, and we all know that RGT loves his free-to-play games, and that is Ninjala. Now, I honestly feel like Ninjala could be absolutely huge on the Nintendo Switch. This is a free-to-play game, and when you look at it, you think of two games, really. At least I do. I think of Splatoon, and I think of Fortnite. Two franchises that are absolutely huge, and I could definitely see a lot of Fortnite and Splatoon players coming over and checking out Ninjala. Now, Ninjala is an online-only game, and one of the main game modes is an 8-player mode, where basically you're trying to become number 1. By becoming number 1, you gain experience, and you can unlock new things for your character. Judging by the gameplay style of this, it's very fast-paced, it's very over-the-top, and very colorful, and I really like all the different things you can do within the gameplay. There's also a game mode where you can play with 4 players on teams, and there's 4-on-4 mode, where you can basically just play in a sort of team-based gameplay style, but I think this game has potential to be really big, especially considering the fact that this is a free-to-play game. I will definitely be checking out Ninjala when it comes out on May 27th. Maybe I could sort of get into an open beta for the game or something like that, but I think Ninjala shows a lot of promise. And the final 5 games all have one thing in common. They all come out on May 29th, so I guess save your money if you're wanting to buy some stuff in the month of May. The first game we're going to talk about is Adam's Venture. Now, Adam's Venture, when you look at it, you're like, oh, it's fake Uncharted, and it really sort of is, but there is one major difference. There is no actual combat in the game. You're actually just solving puzzles in sort of an Indiana Jones style game. Now, this game has released on the PlayStation 4. It got kind of mediocre reviews, so I'm not quite sure how this game is really going to perform on the Nintendo Switch, but I like games in this style. I like Uncharted, I like Tomb Raider, I like playing those sorts of games, and I think the lack of combat isn't really a major deal to me. I sort of like puzzle solving in those games, so I think this game shows some potential, and how that potential will be reached, well, I guess that remains to be seen. Adam's Venture is one of the many games coming out on May 29th, and I do have it on my radar because I'm interested to see how the Nintendo Switch version of the game is. The next game we're going to talk about is the BioShock Collection. Of course, one of the 3 games coming to us from 2K on May 29th. Now, if you've never played BioShock games, they're actually pretty awesome. Now, admittedly, I only played and beat the first BioShock, and one of the things that kind of sucked for me was I sort of figured out the big sort of thing that happens at the end of the game, the big plot twist, like while I was playing the game, so it sort of was a bit of a letdown for me, but my time on Rapture was absolutely awesome. Like, this game was just so unique. And I did play the second one a little bit, but I never finished it. And this compilation, of course, has BioShock 1, 2, and BioShock Infinite. Now, I've heard great things about BioShock Infinite. I actually own it on the PlayStation 3, but I want to check this out on the Nintendo Switch. I think this compilation is probably the best compilation out of the 3 games that are coming out to us from 2K, and it is definitely the one game that I will definitely be purchasing on May 29th for the Nintendo Switch because I want to revisit Rapture. I want to play these games again, and I really want to check out, you know, how these games perform on the Nintendo Switch. These are the remastered editions of the game, so hopefully the graphics look very, very nice. I'm sure they will. The game absolutely looks fantastic on the Xbox 360, so the BioShock Collection is something I'm definitely looking forward to. The next game coming to us from 2K on May 29th is XCOM 2. Now, this is a franchise that has been around for quite a while. It is a strategy franchise. We kind of saw some of the gameplay elements in Mario and Rabbids on the Nintendo Switch, but this is the way that XCOM is supposed to be. Now, the XCOM 2 version that's coming to the Nintendo Switch will have a bunch of the DLC and the expansions included in it as well, so it's going to be a very meaty game. Now, I'm very interested to see, once again, much like BioShock, the performance of XCOM 2. This game looked absolutely fantastic on the PlayStation 4, so I'm curious to see how the Nintendo Switch version of this game ends up playing. But obviously, this is a big win for strategy fans on the Nintendo Switch. It is the perfect style of game for the Switch, considering you can play this in handheld mode, so I'm kind of looking forward to XCOM 2. And the final game coming to us from 2K Games on May 29th is Borderlands: The Handsome Collection. Now, this is a compilation of Borderlands the prequel and Borderlands 2. And really, I've never really played many of the Borderlands games. I played the original game a bit on the Xbox 360. It is a first-person perspective game that is very highly stylized. There's lots of gunplay in it as well. But I never really got heavily invested in this franchise like a lot of other people have, because Borderlands is obviously very popular. Now, one of the main draws to the Borderlands series is the fact that you can also play online with co-op with friends on these games and sort of venture out into this world and do things like loot different things and of course shoot and kill people. So I don't know, I might actually check out the Borderlands Handsome Collection on the Nintendo Switch. I think when it comes to the 2K games, BioShock is the definite, Borderlands is the maybe, and XCOM is the game that I will wait for a discount on. But really, 3 games coming to us from 2K Games on May 29th. There's definitely something for everyone with these games. And of course, the final game we have to talk about is a first-party title for the Nintendo Switch, and that is Xenoblade Chronicles: The Definitive Edition. Now, this is a game that came out on the Wii. It was sort of pigeonholed as it came out towards the end of the Wii's life cycle. There was a weird thing with GameStop having rights to the physical version of the game as well. The game was then re-released on the Nintendo 3DS, but you had to have a new Nintendo 3DS to play it. So really, this is sort of the first time that Xenoblade has come out during the heyday of a console, and the console still being relevant, and it will be pretty easy to pick up and play this game. Now, of course, this is the original game in the Xenoblade trilogy. This introduces Shulk as a character because everyone loves Shulk and the Monado. Gotta love the Monado. And really, this is a fantastic game. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to pick this game up on day one, just because of the fact that I did own it on the Wii. I played it and beat it. I did own it on the new Nintendo 3DS, and I played it and beat it. So it's kind of like a third time. I'm not quite sure. But obviously, the visuals have been redone. Some of the soundtrack has been redone as well. And of course, one of the big additions to the game is the brand new epilogue Future Connected, which is some brand new content for fans of the original Xenoblade. And you can actually play that right off of the jump. You don't have to play the Xenoblade Chronicles game in its entirety to unlock that. So I think that's really cool. And I think a lot of people are going to enjoy Xenoblade Chronicles. It's obviously a timeless game that maybe I will pick up eventually, but this game, like I said, comes out on the Switch on May 29th and is definitely the big game of the month. Alright, so those are the games for the Nintendo Switch for the month of May that I thought were interesting. Let me know in the comment section down below if you plan on picking up any of these games, if I missed a game, and if so, what game did I miss? And of course, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If this is your first time on the channel, like I said, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Check out other videos on the channel as well, and as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.